we go. Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having me. So my name is Adam, not Balou. But my online presence is Balou, but I'll come to that in a little bit. So my background's actually in accountancy, but I'm not going to talk to you about that. You'll be pleased to know. My crypto background started in 2017. Like with many people, I rode the market all the way to the top and then all the way back down to the bottom again in 2018, and then lost interest for a couple of years. Didn't stick around for the bear market, but when COVID hit, I kind of started to get into it a little bit more again, and in kind of middle of 2020 into early 2021 started to get into NFTs, and I hadn't really bought any. I was just kind of like looking about and seeing what they were all about, and then ended up being very fortunate to get into the Bored Ape Yacht Club during the mint. And I'm here today to just talk about, I've called it the boring journey. It hasn't been boring, but it was, play on words. And I'm on the team at the UK Ape Club, which is 300 Bored Ape and Mutant Ape holders in the UK, and lead on the ApeCoin DAO delegation there. And I started a little company with my friend Asif, who's here today, called Ape Town, and we source and create like custom products with people's NFTs, which we kind of just do just for fun, but yeah, it's been good. So yeah, I'm going to talk about my journey being in the Bored Ape Yacht Club, and to start off, I'm just going to cover off the very beginning of BAYC and how it started, for those that don't know. So it's an NFT on Ethereum. There were 10,000 Bored Apes, all sold at 0.08 ETH each, which at the time was about £182. April 2021, they launched it. And the early promises, or roadmap, if you like, what they promised at the very start was pretty basic. You had a merch drop, some bathroom art, which was basically like a token gated big pixel board, and you could place a pixel every 10 minutes. And the whole community were just trying to take up much space as they could on this digital bathroom art wall. And then they also promised a lo-fi YouTube channel, which is basically just music. So there wasn't a great deal promised to begin with, and it actually took a week to sell out, which is kind of unbelievable when you look back now. So when I meet other members of the community, one of the questions people ask most is, how did you find out about it? How did you get in? And it was one tweet that I saw from someone called Pranksy, who I'm sure many of you have come across. So it was this tweet, and this guy, or girl, I'm not actually sure, ended up buying, I think, 1,250 Bored Apes in the mint. And I saw this tweet when they had 250, and I kind of agreed that the art looked quite cool, and I liked the fact that it was a flat price to buy one. A lot of the projects kind of had like FOMO pricing, and the earlier you got in, the cheaper it was. So I decided to initially mint two, and got the two apes on the left. But I didn't think the traits went together very well. I thought it was quite mismatched and they looked a bit odd. So I was like, I'll buy one more, and ended up with one with no traits, which was kind of ironic, but I liked how clean he was, and decided to use that ape as kind of like my social brand. And that's where Balou came from, like Balou from the Jungle Book, the blue bear. So the early days. So as I said, the very start of the project, they didn't promise very much at all. And actually the biggest utility from being in the club was more on the social side. So, having a social avatar on Twitter mainly, and being in this community with like-minded people was the biggest utility. you had this old ape follow ape on Twitter. People were getting hundreds of followers. People were, getting to know each other like they'd known each other forever. It was kind of, I think, partly COVID, because everyone was just stuck at home and craving that kind of social interaction. It's a bit like magic in a bottle, I think. It kind of kicked off at the exact right time. Also, they gave the holders of the apes the IP rights. So you own the artwork itself, so you can use it however you wish. And the earliest use of that kind of owning that IP was in other artwork. So my favorite example, and I'm not just doing this because insights here from Chimpers, but my favorite example was with Chimpers and Timpers, who does pixel artwork. He used his ape and other people's ape and created a new project called Chimpers, and it was all like inspired from the Bored Ape Yacht Club, and that project itself is doing extremely well. And then finally, there's this concept of like, you've got a JPEG, so we'll give you some more through airdrops. So the very first one was that digital hoodie on the right, which you could wear in Decentraland. And you wouldn't believe how excited people were to get this digital hoodie. Looking back now, it's quite funny because the expectations of people now in NFT projects is like insane. But yeah, we were all happy with a hoodie back then. And then the next drop was, they called it the Kennel Club, a companion. Every ape got a dog. People really loved the fact that some of the traits were similar, and collectors were then enjoying life trying to find a dog that looked like their ape. It was simpler times back then. But sticking with airdrops, on the original roadmap, they had teased something saying they'd fix some mutant arcade machine, but no one really knew what that meant. And then in August, they sent out a tweet, which within the community is quite a famous tweet, but people still didn't really know what it meant, but people were excited. And then Steph Curry, the basketballer, bought an ape and started hanging out in Discord, and it was all a little bit crazy. And I remember the drop very well because they had no compassion for holders outside the US, it seemed, because every drop for us was like 2 or 3 in the morning. So we were all up in the middle of the night, and what actually happened was they airdropped what they called serums to the holders, and they had M1, which is the middle one, M2, which is the far one, and there was an M3, which I've not put up because I didn't get one. It was very rare. I think there were only 13 in existence. But you got the serum, and then you would make your Bored Ape drink the serum. I know it all sounds crazy. And that would create the mutant ape, which was based on the OG. So you can see the M1 is kind of like a little bit more insane, but similar artwork. And then the M2 is way crazier. But what I liked about the mutant drop, and what I thought was smart at the time, it's kind of the first time it was done, was that they, instead of just giving you something random, they've given you something which is kind of like linked. So now I've got this family that I never want to let go of, of NFTs. And the other smart thing they did in that drop was do a public sale for 10,000 more mutants, like randomly generated ones that anybody could buy. And that instantly just increased the membership within the club by thousands of people, which was, at the time, was an amazing thing to do, because people, I think, wanted to get in, but just couldn't justify the financial side, whereas the mutants gave an entry to so many more people. But it wasn't all just about digital things. Within the first year, they announced Ape Fest. The first one was in New York in 2021. And unfortunately, COVID was still an issue and so the US weren't allowing tourists in. So everyone in the UK and Europe just had to stay at home with FOMO, unfortunately. And I hate the fact I wasn't there, because the headliner on the warehouse gig on the last night was the Strokes, my favourite band of all time. But it did make me think for the first time that well, kind of NFTs and the Bored Ape Yacht Club in particular were seeping out of the bubble we all live in into kind of the real world. Because why were the Strokes playing at Ape Fest? It was just kind of crazy. I did manage to go to the Ape Fest in 2022 and 2023. 2022 was in New York again. It's kind of like a really cool music festival over 4 days. And then 2023 in Hong Kong, that was just gone in November. It was like there were smaller community events, which was nice, because you've met all these people online for 2 or 3 years, and then you finally got to actually spend time getting to know them in real life. And then they did like a big night where they mocked up a clubhouse and had a DJ set, which was pretty good. The other piece of the Bored Ape puzzle that I'm absolutely love is the IP side. So I said holders, they own the IP for their ape, and they can use it in any way, shape or form they'd like. And people have taken that and run, basically. So there's anything you can imagine has been produced by somebody, and they've put an ape on it. And these are just some examples. Snoop Dogg that's his ape there, the one with the cheetah fur. He's basically released every product under the sun and put his ape on it. But we've got ice cream. He's done a pair of shoes. He did a music video with Eminem where they were their apes, and they performed at the MTV Awards. We've got Happy Dad seltzers. They put their ape on there. And my particular, or my own experience with IPs being pretty interesting. So I was very fortunate to have my ape picked by Coinbase to be featured in a movie they created called the Degen Trilogy. You basically sent in your ape for like casting, like it was a real person. Yeah, seven apes were chosen to be in this movie. And yeah, I even went to the premiere. There I am. There, proud dad, yeah. Proud dad next to my ape. But yeah, it was great. They dragged us up on stage after, and we did a little Q&A. It was bizarre. Unfortunately, the bear market hit pretty much at the same time, and Coinbase pulled the plug on the next two features. But it was still cool, though. I enjoyed it. Last year, Williams Racing, the Formula One team, ran a competition where people could get their NFTs on the tail wing of the Formula One car, the Austin GP. I didn't make it onto the car, but I made it into the fan zone, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, there's me there. And then they had a section which told you about the particular project the NFT was. So that's another cool one. And then this last one, I didn't know anything about until it actually happened. They didn't ask my permission or anything, but it's probably the most bizarre. So this team decided to put my ape on the front of a jet. Didn't tell me why. I didn't ask them to or anything, but I thought it was pretty cool, so I didn't complain or anything. And then they went silent. They disappeared. So whatever they were planning, it didn't come to fruition. But it's not just me that thinks that the IP piece is like a big part of the puzzle, because the Bored Ape Yacht Club team have recently released this Made by Apes concept, which basically puts like an official stamp on a business if they're using a Bored Ape. And they've created like a directory of all these businesses, so you can go on and find You know, if you want to be like a Bored Ape maxi, you can go and drink coffee that's got a Bored Ape on it, or drink water that's got a Bored Ape on it. And for them, it's a no-brainer, I feel, because the more people that are kind of getting the brand out there on their behalf without them necessarily having to do very much, the better. Okay, so another really great aspect of being in the club is the sub-communities. So you've got like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is thousands of people, but then within that, sub-communities have formed, whether that's regional or whether that's just shared interests. So like I'm in the Board Run Club, which is just a group of people that love running and trying to motivate each other to do more and more every single week. The UK Ape Club, which is just UK holders, and we have meetups. We just chat rubbish in Discord all day. Lee tries to shill us the latest big thing. I've actually got a meetup on Saturday, which I'm looking forward to. And then the Blue Ape DAO, which is basically just a group with loads of blue apes in it that try and share information. Well, it's one of my favourites. But there's hundreds, literally hundreds of these groups. There's like a small snapshot down there just to kind of display it. And here's some lovely photos of the UK Ape Club over the last few years. So we've had meetups in London. Some of the guys went and played another NFT project in a football match. And then this is us in New York, ApeFest 22, and then Hong Kong in ApeFest 23. We're hoping ApeFest 24 is in Europe, because it'll be way cheaper. Okay. I'm going to talk very briefly about gaming. I'm not a gamer myself, never really been a gamer, but quite a large portion of being in the club is kind of focused around gaming. So they've released quite a few, and it feels like they're very focused on trying to like move into the metaverse in a big way. So they've released a game, or no, I shouldn't say that. They've not released a game. They're working on a game called The Other Side. And we've had a few tasters of what it's going to be like. There's been a few kind of experiences, tailored experiences, and it's really cool. It's the first time I've been in a game where you're literally in with like 4,000 other people in the same space, and the spatial audio, so you can hear what people are saying around you. So that it looks really promising, looks really interesting. They released various other games, Dookie Dash, top right, basically like, if you remember Temple Run, back from God knows when, but Temple Run's like an endless runner game. And the prize for that was an NFT, which was a golden key. And this kid, 18-year-old kid, a Fortnite pro, I think he was, won this key, got the highest score, and sold it to someone for $1.3 million, which is pretty wild. I finished about, I don't know, 7,000th on the leaderboard, something like that. The third one, Heavy Metal, I won't mention because that was horrendous. And the last one, this one's out at the moment, Legends of the Mara. That's much more my pace. You've got to spend like 5 minutes a day. It's like a strategy game on your other side land. So yeah, gaming's their kind of big focus. If you're interested in kind of Bored Ape Yacht Club or YUGA Labs, the company that runs it, but you're not sure where to enter, but you're into gaming, this is like a good place to start. Okay, so my last slide is just on the future and what I'm kind of excited for, what's coming up. So they've said they're working on an in real life clubhouse somewhere. We don't know when or where. We think it might be in Miami because that's kind of where the headquarters of the actual company is, and where they started out. But it will be cool to have something, even if it benefits Americans more than us, but it'll be cool to have somewhere where people can go and hang out. They're releasing 3D avatars for the apes, and mainly for development within their own games like The Other Side, but it's going to be assets that you can use yourself or other platforms can use them as well. So the idea being that a game can pick up that asset and have it in their own game, so I could log in and be my ape in like however many different games. So that'll be pretty interesting to see. As I've said, I'm big on the IP side, so I'm excited for what they bring out with Made by Apes. I'm hoping that they can continue to drive that forward. I've not really spoke about the ApeCoin DAO. As I said, for UK Ape Club, I lead the ApeCoin DAO delegation for us. I could probably do another presentation on that. It'd take forever, but it's one of the biggest DAOs out there. I've got a lot of treasury. It's not really getting used at the moment, so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in 2024. They're moving more into, rather than things being token gated from a gaming standpoint, they've announced that they're going to release games that are actually just open to the public. So they're going to try and kind of move to more of a mass market, and hopefully increase brand awareness that way. So it'll be interesting to watch to see if it works. I've said I'm interested in the other side. And then finally, they're working on a marketplace, an NFT marketplace with Magic Eden to compete with OpenSea and Blur, and that's coming out this quarter. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested to see how they're going to incentivize people to use that marketplace over Blur, where people aren't paying royalties, and because they're trying to move to a world where the royalties are protected for creators, which I'm a big believer in, but it'll be interesting to see how they manage to pull it off, if they pull it off. Okay, so that's it from me. I'll be hanging around for a drink after, so if anyone's got any questions, I'll be there. Thanks very much.